You know what time it is. Are you ready for the Addams family? Are you ready for Morticia? Uncle Fester? Wednesday? Pugsley? And Lurch? The ultimate family reunion. I don't know about you, but I am so stoked about this. And here to introduce our strange and deranged brood, our moderator. Give it up for Mr. Tom Jorgensen. Come on out, Tom.
What's up, LA Comic-Con? How we doing? We ready to get a little weird up in here? Then there is no time to waste. I am so honored to bring out the cast of the Addams family and the Addams family values. First up, Lurch, Carl Stroiken. Ladies and gentlemen, Pugsley himself, Jimmy Workman. I think it's safe to say everybody's favorite day of the week, Wednesday, Christina Ricci. Now, I've got some agents out there trying to figure out what Uncle Fester is up to right now. That might be a mystery we have to solve later, but here's one mystery we don't have to wait to solve. Who's ready for some Morticia? The matriarch of the Addams family, Angelica Houston. Thank you all for joining us here today. What a reunion indeed. I want to take things back to when you were first making this movie, because getting everybody together really feels special, especially when the Addams family is such an iconic family that we all look up to in our own ways. I want to know, what was the feel on set? Was there a family feel for you when you were making this movie?
Bonded, and everybody, Angelica, Raul, Carl, and Chris, they were all so kind to us as, you know, we were kids. They were so kind to us, and I know, you know, I spent hours in your trailer learning things from you and asking a million questions. If you could drive. Wanting to drive, yes.
That actually got crashed in Paramount.
A few times. A couple of golf cart incidents on set.
Yeah.
Who was the worst? And when I say the worst, who was the most adventurous with the golf carts?
I would always instigate stealing them and then run away, and Jimmy would get in trouble.
Yeah, she started it, I crashed them, and it kind of went downhill from there.
Well, you know what? Before we get much further, we do have an empty chair here, and that does feel even a little too odd for the Addams family. So I do wanna maybe. Do we have one more member of the Addams family we could bring up? Yeah, I think we do. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, how about Uncle Fester himself, Christopher? So, Chris, were you up to some Uncle Fester stuff? Doing Uncle Fester stuff? You were up to some Uncle Fester stuff before he came up on stage? Yeah. Christopher, how about you? Do you have any strong memories of Raul?
I remember his scene.
He did a lot of CAs and some Broadway musicals. Mr. I forget the name.
Kiss of the Spider Woman, Don Quixote.
David Bob's. And, but I remember once we had a scene when we were, it was like nighttime, Italy,
We were always in the cavern.
Yes. With my grandmother picking what he perceived to be a spinach, which probably could have been, could not have been, but that just kind of showed you what type of person he was, caring, and just wanted to be involved in the part of things. That's the man I know and remember.
Yeah, he was really, really incredible. He was just such a brilliant actor, and so much fun to be around, so charming, and yeah, he sung opera at the top of his lungs and danced, and he taught us Puerto Rican songs. And then he also seemed to he was just so empathetic and generous that I think he could tell sometimes when we as kids were nervous. And I remember several times feeling really nervous that he would call me over and start singing a song with me or teaching me a little dance or something to just make things easier for me and sort of break up how anxious I was. And he was just so lovely and warm. Really incredible man.
How about for you, Carl? Any Raul memories come to mind?
Well, apart from this wonderful singing repertoire of all the songs he knew, another memory I have of him is after the movie we had to do all these press junkets, and he got mad as hell about that. Because it went on from 7 in the morning till somewhere in the evening. So at a certain point he grabbed me and he said, "Come, we're gonna go to the bar." And, so we sat in the bar and he said, "This is all on the Paramount tab. So what is the most expensive bottle you have here?" And so we drank the bottle of very expensive cognac.
One of my favorite aspects of Morticia, and it's this intensity that comes through her eyes. And you've talked in the past about how you found a lot of delivering Morticia coming through the eyes. Can you maybe talk a little bit about how hard it was to maybe focus on that aspect of your performance when there was so much craziness going on around you, staying locked into Morticia like that?
Well, initially I tried to emote with my body, which was very difficult because my dress was very restrictive. So you'll see in the first Addams Family, I turned my entire body when I'm supposed to just turn my head. So that became a thing. So, for instance, if I was working with Christopher, full half circle, and then it occurred to me that I didn't have to do that I could actually make a shorthand out of it.
Was that helpful getting into that costume for finding who Fester was? Or did you already have a pretty good idea of how you wanted to play the character?
Yes, a bit of both. I mean, certainly, I'm not no tongue.
No.
I'm not rounded out.
Not quite the same body shape as Fester.
No, so I knew I had some kind of padding, heavy so but that just helps to get there.
Yeah. You serve as this really important bridge, I think, between sort of multiple generations of the Addams family, you know, the way that we experience that franchise. You appear in Wednesday as Marilyn there, and I want to know how it felt for you I want to know how it felt for you personally, you know, being able to be that kind of bridge and how it was being on that set for you.
Well, I mean, I don't see myself as a bridge. Unfortunately, I don't have that sort of objectivity and perspective. You know, I was thrilled to work with Tim again and to get to go and be, you know, on in the Wednesday show. It was really fun. It was exciting, and I loved this experience. And I loved playing Wednesday, but I would have to be a sociopath to be able to view myself as a bridge.
Well, we'll leave that to. I think it's probably fair to say that a lot of the Wednesday fans out there were probably very delighted to see you, you know, giving the Wednesday stamp of approval there. So I think everyone's pretty grateful for that. Carl, for you, another thing that I noticed watching these movies, just the fine detail of it all, is the way that lurch is used to get in and out of scenes in these really funny ways, whether it's you doing something, you know, as simple as dusting, or something way more weird and that's just in the background. Do you have any memories of stuff like that you shot that maybe didn't make it into the movie that you wish had? Any of those small lurch moments, or do you have a favorite lurch moment in the movie?
No, the most memorable was when I had darts thrown at me. Yeah.
The darts. Angelica, I want to ask you, something I heard you say recently is that you're a big fan of another big family from TV, the Schitt's Creek, the Rose family. You're a big Schitt's Creek fan. And something occurred to me, there is actually a lot of crossover between the town. It kind of seems like those two characters would have a lot to talk about.
I think they'd have been sisters.
Yeah, Morticia, Moira, they almost sound like sisters.
Yeah, definitely. And also for myself, I have to say that one of my most amused moments was seeing Uncle Fester with two straws coming out of his mouth when he was trying to enchant Debbie in number 2. I thought it was incredibly charming.
Do you have any on you right now, Christopher? Any breadsticks to put in your nose? Did you bring them with you? You didn't get my text?
That was a lot
It was
of fun.
really fun.
I will tell you though,
You
that
could
stuff
point your blood.
stands.
You could point your blood at people and spray them with it.
And it would take them 3 days to remove it.
Well, yeah, at that time they didn't have the blood they have now that's easy to remove.
Yep.
And I'm so scarred by this that still to this day, when I'm working and they're like, we're gonna put blood on you, I'm like, no, that stuff doesn't come off. And they're like, it's not 1992 anymore. We have new stuff. But at the time it was like corn syrup and red food dye. So it would literally stain your phone. So we were red for a very long time after this, basically.
And the even more fun part is I think we had to do the fencing.
Yeah.
That
No, the
training for the
fencing
fencing,
and
that was
the it was good.
There's a lot of sword play in these movies. Another thing that I kind of want to talk about here is this is directed by Barry Sonnenfeld, who, of course, this was Barry Sonnenfeld's first movie that he directed. Shot a lot of movies for the Coen brothers before that, including Raising Arizona, which I think is one of the most visually impressive comedies ever, and he really brings that visual flair to the Addams family. How much of an impact do you think Barry's eye had on the lasting effect of the Addams family?
I think it had a huge effect. I mean, he shot it in such an iconic way. You know, like I'm not a photographer, so I don't have the vocabulary to discuss it. But you know, all the frames are really strong, impactful, sort of iconic images, and you know, even when you like, in the same way that Raising Arizona is very iconically shot. But I think his eye, and he was the director. His direction had a ton to do with how lasting this movie was for people.
He wasn't out to cause harm or mayhem. He was kind of more subtle about it. He liked pranks, I felt. He liked to do things that might screw up your day, but really there was no big injury. But little things, I can't think of one of them.
Christina, how about you?
Banana peel.
Yeah.
Walking by. Something like that, so. Yeah.
Christina, how about you? What brings Wednesday to mind for you when you're out and about?
I think one of the main things about Wednesday that's always stayed with me is that, it's a little girl that's so true to herself and so able to stand up for herself. And so I always think about Wednesday when I fail at doing that. Like when somebody tells me, somebody tells you to smile or something, and I'm like, I always think, oh, what a jerk. You know what I mean? Like, Wednesday would never have done that. So, those kinds of things always remind me of her.
Were you on set with the kids reading all those things at the same time, or did they bring the kids out?
I was on set reading to them. And one started to cry, and I thought, oh, here we go. And soon, the entire room, with about 20, 25 children, were screaming at the top of their voices. And I could barely continue. I'd forgotten that was still in the movie.
Yes, you are on record, unfortunately, making a room full of children cry. I'm sorry. And speaking of children, I think this is actually a great way into my next question, which is that I certainly started watching the Addams Family when I was very young, and was very enamored with its relationship to darkness and things that may be a little taboo, and the way that it handles those things. And for each of you, I'd like to know why you think that Addams Family is so appealing to kids of a young age. Maybe Angelica, we start with you.
Because we're doing all the wrong things. And getting a lot of attention for it. A lot of good attention.
That's a good point. And Christopher, I know you mentioned that you were a fan of the Addams Family from a young age, and especially Fester. And so, what was it about Fester as a kid that really connected with you? Like, why did you like Fester especially?
A prankster. He had a certain kind of evilness about him, but it wasn't. It was more mischief. And that's kind of fun.
And Christina, I know Wednesday is like a huge role model for a lot of kids. Like, do you think that they come to it looking for almost like permission to be different? Is that something that resonates with you?
Yeah, I'm sure that's it for people in terms of, like, if you're going to view her as a role model, I feel like that's the only sort of value she has as a role model, is sort of like being true to who you are, and it's okay to be different, and, not pandering to other people and their expectations. But I do, like, to your point about kids loving the Addams Family, I remember showing my son the Addams Family when he was 6, and he just kept looking at me and saying, "Oh, Mom, you're so naughty." Like, he just was so thrilled that all these people were so naughty. Like, he couldn't believe it. So I think that has a lot to do with its appeal for children.